When Chet was running 9 of Charlie Munger's divisions, his employees used to come to him and ask if he had a minute, which would then develop into a full-blown meeting. And because Chet had 22 people directly reporting to him, that basically took him about 12 hours, after which he went home and did creative work. He realized that he had to do something, and so he decided to put out a memo saying that he will only accept urgent meetings at a specified time of the day, and all the rest will have to be held for the weekly time at which he will answer all matters. Note: if you're a solopreneur now, you could apply this to setting a specific responsive time during the day for all social media notifications, calls, or other distractions. And that was only the first part of his 6-part time management plan, which could be applied instantly. Step 1 is Time Management Secrets of Billionaires. When I was an airplane technician at the Air Force, we used to have a thing called a job guide for every maintenance activity on the plane. Whether that be cleaning a window or checking the wheels for damage, everything was written in detail. This kind of management allows for no mistake and makes all the activities a lot more effective, because you know exactly what you have to do. No more, no less. This results in doing the tasks completely and not forgetting anything. Doing the tasks in a predictable way, so that it doesn't depend on the mood of the person at the same day. Doing the tasks faster, because you already knew what you had to do before even starting the task. On the contrary, a bad example of a hiring and executing process might be, for a new hire, just to see what a random senior employee does and repeat after him, because that's completely unpredictable. If you'd like to read more about this process, a truly excellent book on the subject is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Step 2 is instituting higher standards and regular training. What better way is there to improve your company than brainstorming all its problems together with the entire team and then coming up with solutions also together? That's why Chet started holding weekly 1-hour meetings where he would tackle one problem with the processes at a time. He would come to the board, write one question, and ask people to brainstorm solutions for it. Then, with all the solutions written on the board, he would have a vote on which one to use and proceed to delegating it to someone for detailed implementation. This way, the staff would be more eager to apply the new process because they participated in its inception, and also it would probably be very effective because it was chosen out of a very big variety of solutions. Note: this chapter is for people who have employees. Nonetheless, a possible interpretation for solopreneurs is to do this process by yourself once a week. Step 3 is executing effective meetings. Imagine yourself standing in a stadium full of your target audience, and as soon as you open your mouth to talk about your product, 90% of them leave, and you continue your pitch with a broken spirit. The thing is that on average, any given product has 10% of its target audience potentially ready for its purchase at the moment. That's why, when you start your pitch, it should start with something broad that applies to all your audience, and then slowly narrowing down to your specific product. For example, the heading of that pitch might be the 5 biggest problems that entrepreneurs face. And then you could slowly go down to education, elaborate a few things you could educate yourself through, and then elaborate on the one that you're using, for example books, and deeper you go. Step 4 is becoming a brilliant strategist. Hiring someone is not for my sort of business, you might think. I'm doing creative work and my business is different. Nonetheless, so long as your business relies solely on you and your mood, it's not a business, it's a job. That's why, as stated in step 2, we must document our processes, so that we will know what jobs are the most valuable and then be able to hire someone to do those jobs. Then, when you've written down all your tasks, consider how much you're willing to pay for a given job so that it will still be profitable for you. That process might take some time, but don't get discouraged, because it's the only way to truly own a business. BS. Once more, a book I highly recommend on the subject is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Step 5 is hiring superstars. When I doubled sales 3 years in a row, Charlie Munger said, "Are you sure we're not lying, cheating, and stealing? In all my years, I've never seen anybody double sales 3 years in a row." Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine. Step 6. When Chet started working for Charlie Munger, their magazine, California Lawyer, had 2% national advertising market share, leaving them in the 15th place out of 45 in the industry. Then, Chet decided to concentrate on the 167 biggest advertisers in their field, an effort which he called the Dream 100. He began sending them letters and gifts every 2 weeks. For the first 4 months, he had 0 sales, but then, within 6 months, he had 28 of those advertisers on board, thus doubling the sales of the magazine and bringing the magazine all the way from 15th place in advertising market share to 1st place. Step 6 is the high art of getting the best buyers. Imagine yourself watching a YouTube video and an ad comes up, during which a car pulls up to another and an angry woman with a baseball bat steps out and starts braking the parking car. Then, a man in an identical car stops next to her and says something which you cannot hear. Just then, the true owner of the car shows up and seems in shock. Then, you see a logo of a local body shop. Would you unmute this ad just to hear what the man is saying? Would that ad draw your attention? In order to bring our business to become an ultimate sales machine, one of the areas we need to master is marketing. That's why, in this step, Chet describes tips about the 7 different marketing weapons, the first of which is the one I've just described: advertising. Step 7 is the 7 musts of marketing. We, human beings, remember 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, but 50% of what we both see and hear. Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine. Step 8. On one occasion, at a seminar, Chet was giving a speech and flashing slides rapidly every few seconds. Then, when he came to talk about the importance of visual aids, he blanked the screen. He could feel straight away that everyone in the room felt how the communication degraded. To improve our presentation, we should always think of ways to present visually in addition to orally. Step 8 is the eyes have it. This step goes into detail about how to apply the Dream 100 strategy. Because it is quite difficult to describe a detailed chapter within a summary, here are just the names of the steps for you to grasp the idea. 1. Choose your Dream 100. 2. Choose the gifts. 3. Create your Dream 100 letters. 4. Create your Dream 100 calendar. 5. Conduct Dream 100 follow-up phone calls. And 6. Present the executive briefing. All that is left for success is big-headed determination. Step 9 is the nitty-gritty of getting the best buyers. When Chet was working with Charlie Munger on their magazine, a competing magazine opened just to compete with them. Chet's clients then came to him to ask what he thought of that new magazine. He then said, "You know what? My philosophy is this. Let them get successful, and once they've proven themselves, then put your money in there. I would not let them build their success by experimenting with your money." And so it was. None of them went to advertise there, and the magazine closed within 6 months flat. That is the power of having clients who are also your friends. They'll feel as if it's a betrayal to go with another magazine. Making your clients your friends is just one of the 6 sales skills that could turbocharge your sales, according to Chet. Step 10 is sales skills. Suddenly, the owner of the restaurant and celebrity chef approached Chet's table with free samples of an appetizer and said, "It is so nice to see you, Chet," and shook his hand. This was a meeting that Chet organized because of a trade show that was going on in town, bringing 18 of his advertisers together in one location. The restaurant owner, seeming to know Chet, impressed his advertisers and made Chet feel very special. So much so that Chet is talking about it 20 years later. And that is an example of a masterful client bonding procedure. We should also make procedures to make our clients feel very special when they do business with us, so that they want to stay our client. This chapter includes 10 detailed instructions to create 10 follow-up interactions that will make our client feel special. Step 11 is follow-up and client bonding skills. If you have recently bought a car, you have most likely noticed that you started seeing it on every corner, although you never did earlier. The reason for this is a certain area in our brain that's called the reticular activating system, or in short, RAS. It is responsible to make us see what we subconsciously believe is important. Chet explains that it is possible to set this system in our favor so that we will better notice our ways to success. All that we have to do is record 10 positive affirmations and listen to the recording every night before bed. Note: please read more before applying, as this is just an abstract summary of the process. One more thing that is important for succeeding with the 11 steps is measuring progress. Because when you measure, you may know whether what you're doing is good or you should change something. Step 12 is all systems go. Thank you for watching, Improvementers. If you've got anything useful from this summary, and I believe all of us, would love to hear about it in the comments below. Stay awesome and stay strong, warriors. See you in the next video. Bye bye.